Hey everyone, today we are going to do a complete walkthrough of the LivePlot UI. When LivePlot first got announced, Jeff did an awesome video that I highly recommend you watch first. The link will be in the description. In this video, I want to slowly walk through all of the LivePlot UI elements and talk about some workflow examples. In my opinion, the best part about LivePlot is how intuitive it is to use. Sometimes I'll be using it, go back to the fixture page, and forget how that works for a second because I'm so used to LivePlot. However, we've crammed a ton of features in, so it can be a bit confusing at first, but as soon as you watch this video and start playing with it on your own, I'm sure you're gonna love it, and it'll be second nature for you. Before we jump in, if you don't have LivePlot, that is a paid upgrade available on our website. Once you purchase it, you'll have to log out of the app and log back in, and then you'll see it pop up. So here we are in Blackout. I'm on the latest version as of now, that's 2.3.8. And let's first navigate to LivePlot. LivePlot is found at the bottom right here. Before we jump in, let's talk about what LivePlot is. LivePlot is a way to plot all of your fixtures, your looks, your effects, your macros, your favorites, anything in the app can be put on LivePlot, selected, interacted with, triggered if it's a look. You can add your own images, all the pixels of your fixtures. We have a symbol library that is growing. So LivePlot allows you to make Blackout your own and interact with it in a way that feels comfortable to you. And one of my favorite features is if you're using Blackout as your main console or with another console, you can use LivePlot to let other people visualize what fixtures are on your set and what's going on with them. We're going to talk about that in a minute, but without further ado, let's jump in. When you first enter LivePlot, it probably looks something like this. I'm going to go down here and hide the keyboard so we have a bit more real estate. And if you have the sidebar open, that's toggled by hitting this arrow and this sidebar button right here. So we'll hide that for now just so we have plenty of real estate. The first thing that we want to do is add stuff because we have quite a blank canvas right now. You can do this by toggling live mode. When I click this button, we go into edit mode. This menu on the left here allows you to add anything you want in LivePlot. LivePlot allows you to have up to 5 layers, so the very first thing that you need to do is add a layer if you don't already have one. You can do this by clicking plus on any of these layer slots or coming down here to add new. And if you press and hold on this layer, you can rename it. I'm going to call this Titans. Now up at the top, you can select your target, and you can see this lets you add practically anything in Blackout. Fixtures, groups, macros, looks, favorites. I'm going to keep it on fixture for now. You can also select none if you just want to add a blank symbol. I'm going to click this little hashtag to get back to fixture. Start indicates what you're targeting. So in this case, if I left my start on 1, this would add fixture 1 to my LivePlot. I'm going to start with my Titan tubes, which start at 201. So I'll type in 201. And I got there just by clicking the center and getting this calculator. You can switch to text of different size or images. But for now, we'll keep with a symbol. And my Titan tubes are rectangles, so I'll select the rectangle button here. But if I scroll down, you can see we have all kinds of fixture symbols and more are coming very soon. Now I'm going to look at my canvas. This red dot in the center indicates the center of my canvas. I'm using 2 fingers to pinch and zoom and navigate around. Down here at the bottom, you can see what your zoom level is. If I click it, it will reset me to 100%. LivePlot is designed to be scaled around 100%. So when you're adding fixtures, double check that you're around that range, because if you're too zoomed out or too zoomed in, you might run into some performance issues. The last thing I'm going to check before adding my fixture is that I have this plus sign enabled. If I turn this off and start clicking, nothing is going to happen. However, if I turn it on and click, you see a fixture gets added. So now I can click and add my Titan tubes. It looks like I only have 7 Titan tubes patched. I'm actually going to only add 6 for this example. So I can come up here to the undo button and click undo to get rid of those. So now we have 6 Titan tubes, but they're kind of all over the place. I can select them by dragging left to right and highlighting them all. It's worth it to note that if I drag right to left, my selection is blue. A blue selection indicates that you have to cover the whole unit before it will actually select. So you can see if I only cover half, it doesn't select until the whole unit is covered. If I drag right to left, the unit is selected immediately as the lasso touches it. So I'll select all of my fixtures, And then up here at the top, we notice a couple of options. This button will lock whatever is selected and not allow you to select it. I recommend never locking fixtures. The lock button is best used with images. These arrows allow you to swap the symbol. So if I click them, you can see the symbol library pops up and I can turn them into circles. But now I'll swap them back into squares. The next button here controls the stack within the layer. So this is your bring to front, send to back, bring to forward, send to back. This button here groups a selection. So if I group these selections and click 204, you see they all get selected. I'm clearing my selection out by tapping in the blank canvas. So I can select 206, they all select. I tap in the blank canvas, they all deselect. I want to control these fixtures individually, so I'm going to ungroup them by toggling that again. This bar graph looking icon is, in my opinion, the most important tool you'll be using with LivePlot, and these are all your alignment features. So if I click this, you can see we have some features that you may already be familiar with from graphic design softwares. I can click this button to align them out of the middle. I can space them out horizontally evenly, and that's already a really good starting point. You can see down here we have some stack options. We'll take a look at that in just a moment. But play around with all these buttons and you'll see how powerful they are. The last two buttons are copy, which as I click it, you can see it clones the existing selection, and then delete, which of course will delete whatever you have selected. So now I have a line of evenly spaced Titan tubes. In real life, I have these Titan tubes set up in a grid on either side of a car. So I can select them again, come to my alignment options, and do stack grid. You can see they immediately bunch together in a grid. Up here, I can change the amount of columns or rows. In this case, I want 2 rows, so I can click this arrow and click here to type in 2 rows. And you can see they form 2 rows. Now I want to make this a bit bigger, so I'll grab this handle at the bottom right and drag out. That's a decent size. Again, I'm checking to make sure I'm at 100% at the bottom, but I want them to be a different shape. Titan tubes are rectangles. So I can come here to the shift icon, and while I'm in edit mode, this button will allow you to change the aspect ratio. So now if I grab this handle here and start moving it around, I can turn them into rectangles. But now they're a little too close together. So I can come up here to the spacing tool, turn that on, and I'll drag the left corner now, and you can see they start to space out. I'll move this to the center, and that's pretty good. I'm going to tap on the blank canvas to deselect. I'm going to just select the bottom row and bring these down. I'm going to take my 2 fingers, pinch and zoom and recenter my view. Now I'm going to toggle off edit mode to save. Toggling out of edit mode and back into live mode is what saves your LivePlot. If you're in edit mode, you make a bunch of changes and you leave Blackout, those changes won't be saved. So make sure to save, you're always in live mode. The next thing I'll do is come to these 6 buttons here. These are your snapshots and they allow you to quickly change and save your views within the canvas. This button at the bottom will center whatever fixtures you have in your whole LivePlot in one view. I'm going to zoom a little bit more in with my 2 fingers, and then if I press and hold this number 1, you see this blue frame around the LivePlot appears and it saves as a view. So now if I pinch and move away, all I have to do is click this number 1 and it snaps me back to that view. If I want a view of just 205, I can zoom in, press and hold 2, and now if I hit 1, I go to that view. If I hit 2, I go to that view. If I hit this button at the bottom, it centers the whole thing. To overwrite a view, all you have to do is press and hold again. Views that are already saved will look like this, and views that have no data will look like this. Now here's the amazing thing. All I have to do to interact with my fixtures is select a fixture, go to fixture controls, and you can see as I turn the intensity up, the light immediately starts visualizing that. If I change the color temperature, we see a change on the unit itself. I can scroll down, turn my crossfade up, scroll down, turn my saturation up, and we see it turns red. I can pop up my keyboard and home this fixture by saying add home, enter, and I'll release it by saying at release. And I'll hit clear. And I'll tap in the middle of the screen to clear my selection. I'm going to hide my keyboard again. It's worth it to note that this shift button when you're in live mode has a different function. If it's turned off, if I select 202 and then go to select 201, 202 deselects. But in live mode, this button acts like a shift button. So if I turn it on, now I can click these fixtures individually and they all stay selected. So think of it like using shift on a computer. Of course, your lasso still works, so if I drag right to left, it's very easy to select all my fixtures. You can change the behavior of this shift button here by going into your settings and turning it into either a hold, so I have to hold it, or back to a toggle, which is what I prefer. See, now I can toggle it on, toggle it off. Let's keep adding more to this live plot. I'm going to go back into edit mode, and now I want to add a floor plan. I'm going to put this on a new layer under my fixtures. By default, the layers stack in the order that you see here. So now I'll select the image button, and I already have some floor plans loaded in. If you don't have anything here, you can go to add new and search your files. It's important to note if you have an image in your Photos app, you'll need to hit this share button and scroll down to save to files to put it in some folder so Blackout can access it. So now once I've added a photo, all I have to do is select the photo and you can see it populates instantly in LivePlot. And you can see it's also behind all of my fixtures. So I can use this handle here to drag it out. And because I have my shift button selected here, I can change the aspect ratio. I'm going to undo that by hitting undo up here a couple times. And I want to keep it in the same aspect ratio. So I'm going to turn this off and drag it out. That feels good. Now I want to lock this because it's an image and I don't want to be able to select it. If I come out of live mode, now I can't select the image. I can just select my fixtures, which is exactly what I want. I'm going to resave snapshot 1 with the image added. And now let's say I want to toggle the image. I can come here to layer number 2, which is what the image is on, and click it to turn it off. And I can save that as snapshot 2 right here. So now if I hit snapshot 1, the image appears. If I hit snapshot 2, the image disappears. It's important to note that snapshots over here save the status of whatever's going on over here. The last thing I want to point out about layers, if I turn layer 2 back on, you see there's a border around layer 1. That's your selected layer, which you can change by pressing and holding. The selected layer mainly has to do with this all button. If I add a couple more layers by clicking down here, and I select layer 2 again, if I hit all of them will turn off except for layer 2. So what I like doing is having my fixtures in one layer, selecting that layer by pressing and holding, and then now my all button will toggle off all my other layers. Of course, you can use snapshots over here to mix and match and get more specific control, because if I turn on layer 1 and 4 here and save that to snapshot 4, now if I go to snapshot 1, we go back to this state, snapshot 2 turns that off, snapshot 4 turns layer 4 on. So have fun playing with layers and snapshots. There's a ton of potential in your workflow for using just these two tools. We're back in live mode, and if I turn on the image, I can now come to this button down here, which rotates your whole view 90 degrees. This is great if you're operating LivePlot from one end of the room at Video Village, and then you flip the world and you have to be on the other side of the room. Now you can come down here and flip it 90 degrees and operate LivePlot from whatever viewpoint makes the most sense for you. Okay, we're dealing with Titan tubes, so obviously the question becomes, how do we add the cells of the Titan tubes? Well, we'll jump back into edit mode, and now if I click a fixture, you can see this hamburger menu appears. If I click this, you'll see I have the option to copy its properties to another fixture, or up here I can add cells. I'm going to add cells above for now, just because that's where I have the most room. The first thing I'm going to do is select them, turn on my shift key, and adjust their aspect ratio. That looks good. Then I'll take this rotation handle and rotate them 90 degrees. And I'll move them a little bit closer to the unit, and I'll tap in the blank area to deselect. Now we don't want to do that for every set of cells. So I'm going to drag over them and select them again. Then come to our clone button. I'll move them above this fixture. I'll clone again. I'll move them above this fixture. I'll clone again. I'll move them above this fixture. And I'll do that for every fixture. So now just to make them even, I'll select them all. I'll come to our stack and I'll align them to the middle. I'll do the same down here. Drag right to left, come up here to the bar graph, and align them to the middle. Okay, but now the problem is these are all the wrong fixture. They're all for 201. So how do we fix that? The first thing I'll do is make sure I have the plus button turned off, because if this was highlighted and I try to click around to edit, it's going to start adding fixtures. So I'll undo that and turn that off. Then I'll select these fixtures, and you can see I get a new menu that allows me to edit the properties. So this is where you can change what custom fields you're seeing for each of the units, or I can come here to targets. If you have a lot of fixtures, it might be helpful to filter out the minimum number you're starting with. So I'll just type in 20 here to see all my 200s. Now this is 203, so I'll just select 203, and you can see all the cells change to 203 but remain in the same order. So I'll come down here, turn off the shift key, and start retargeting all of these. So I'll grab these, 205, grab these, 202, grab these, 204, grab these, 206. Now, if I leave edit mode to save, and I select 201, you can see as I turn on this fixture, just these cells light up. And now I can come in and turn off individual cells. So I can come here, turn off the middle 2 cells. So now you can start to see the true power of LivePlot, because now you can interact with pixels in a fixture that gives you faster control like never before. I can come in here, just drag over these pixels, and then turn them on right in LivePlot. And of course, your command line is always available, so I can type @release to turn this all off. And I'll hit release enter to turn everything off. Something else I'll do is put cells on their own layer so I can toggle them off if I'm not interacting with them. So if I go back into edit mode, I can select all my cells. I'll make sure my shift button's on. So now I have all my cells selected. I can come back to properties, and now I can change their layer to, let's say, layer 3. And because layer 3 is hidden right now, they disappear. If I turn layer 3 on, they reappear. So now I can save snapshot 3 to have my cells on. If I go to snapshot 2, they turn off. Snapshot 3, snapshot 2. And I can toggle them off easily just from this button here. So now I'm going to show you an alternate workflow for adding fixtures with pixels. Let's take a look. So in LivePlot, I'm just going to pinch and zoom away, and I'm going to come down here and make this snapshot 5. So now I have this blank canvas. I'll click right here to make sure I'm at 100, and I'll resave this. I'll come back in and toggle edit mode on. And now I'm going to start adding vortexes. So I have 6 vortexes patched in multi-zone mode. They're in the 800s, so I've got 800 selected as my start fixture. I'll select a square again. I want to make sure this button is enabled, and I'll do this on layer 5. And I'll turn on layer 5. And I can press and hold layer 5 and rename it vortexes. And I'll resave this snapshot to make sure that layer 5 is turned on in it. Okay, now I'm going to add my first vortex. And I'll hop out of add mode, and I'm going to size this the way I want. That looks vortexy. And then I'm going to add cells below immediately. I'm going to pinch out to get a better view. I'll tap in the middle to clear here. I'll select all these cells. I'll come up to my bar graph, and now I'll stack grid. And while this may look right with vortexes, the pixels actually go 1, 2, 3, 4. So I want to use columns, not rows. So I'll click this arrow here to change it to columns, and we want 4 columns. There we go. Now we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I'm going to drag this down, and I'm going to scale it down, make this even smaller. I could use the spacing tool here if I wanted more space between the pixels. I'll undo that though. This looks good to me. If the text for each pixel is bothering you, you can select them all, come here and delete them. I do this a lot for pixels. There we go. So now I've got this template of a vortex I really like, and I want to clone it 5 times for the rest of them. So I'll make sure I'm back in edit mode. And I'll zoom out a little bit to give myself some room to work with. And actually, I'm going to select this whole thing and scale it down. And I'll move that up. Great. Now all I have to do is select it and hit the clone button. Space it out. Select it, clone, space it out, clone, space it out, clone. Okay, now obviously these are the wrong fixtures. So how do I change that? Well, I can hit this button here, and this is our retarget tool. And you can see it shows me up here that I'm in retarget mode and I'm starting with 802. So now all I have to do is click this fixture and it instantly changes to 802. But now what about the cells? Well, I'll go back to 802 by hitting this minus button and hit this button, which allows me to target cells. And now I can just click on all the cells and retarget them just like this. Okay, great. I'll turn this off, go to 803, click, and retarget the cells. And just like that, I have all of my cells in. Now let's take a look at adding something that isn't a fixture into LivePlot. I'm going to go to my macros here in the sidebar, and let's add macro 6 and 7, full time, out time. I'll go into edit mode here, and instead of choosing fixture, I'm going to choose macro, and I'm going to make it a star, and let's start with macro 6, and we'll place that, and macro 7, we'll place that right next to it. Now the first thing I want to do is make these bigger, so I'm dragging and scaling them up just like we have before, and I'll come here to the align tool to align them. Great. Now I don't want these to stay green, so I'm going to grab full time, and here I can change the fill, and I'm going to change that to a white. And this macro tag at the bottom, I don't need that. It already has a label, so I'll go ahead and delete that. Just to clarify, these link buttons next to the stroke and fill, those have to do with fixtures. If I come here, the link button means it's going to use whatever its color temperature, color, and intensity are. So if I unlink these, it'll use whatever is set there. So if I exit and start dimming this guy up, it's going to fill with green. So if I come back here, link the fill, link the stroke, boom, it's back to how it was. Okay, back into edit mode. That feels good for full time. I'm going to turn off my plus button so I can edit, come to out time, and let's change the fill on this one to like a dark gray. I like the stroke, but you could change it. And now if I go into live mode, I can grab 801 and click this macro, and we can see it working instantly. If I hit full time, there we go. So you can do this for favorites, for groups, for macros, for looks, anything you want. All you have to do is go into edit mode, select your target, select your number, turn on your plus sign, and you can start adding away. So that about covers most things in LivePlot, but the final thing I'll show you is one of my favorite features. I'm using this all the time. If I'm using Blackout as my main console or another console, I can import my patch into Blackout, lay it out in LivePlot, and then I can go here and click this button. And this QR code button here gives anyone access to look at your LivePlot as long as they're on your lighting network. So if you're using a Rat Pack that's generating a Wi-Fi signal or a Cerise connected to a router, whatever transmitter system you're using, all someone has to do is join that network and then either scan this QR code or type in this URL, and then they'll be able to look at LivePlot on any device that has a web browser. So DITs from their laptop, DPs on their iPad or their computer, or your crew rigging, they can all look at your layout to see levels, see where fixtures are placed, and understand what's going on. So here I am in a web browser, and you can see I have all of this information right here, and I can see what's going on. If I go back into Blackout and I dim these units up and go back into LivePlot, you can see they turn on. I know this was a long one, but I wanted to give you a full overview of all the features we have in LivePlot. If you have any questions, let me know in the Blackout Facebook group, in the Help Center, or in the comments below. Let me know what you want to see more of, and I'll see you next time.